A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, good evening. Goeiemiddag, Molweni. Ahlan wa sahlan. Welcome to the program On the Coach with me, Sitara Khalfi, standing in for Farida Rabia this afternoon. And I'm always used to calling her my executive producer, so it's kind of weird to say that she's a presenter for the program. Well, the team this afternoon, we have Auntie Yasmin at reception, we have Saeed Suma in studio, and just very quickly on the couch together with Lately in Land and Housing is a weekly show that discusses current affairs in the political landscape pertaining to housing, evictions, equitable access to land and tenure security. Today we'll be discussing finding money for affordable housing. Now, I know that many of us, especially if you're a first-time house owner, you're always battling to find money or how to go about getting finances to purchase that affordable housing. Well, this evening we'll be finding so much more on the couch where you hear the difference on 100.4 FM. Well, my guest in studio is Dylan Halls. He's the Marketing and Communications Manager, and Anika Hanekom, the architect at Bitprop Session Outline. Good afternoon, lady and gentlemen, and welcome.
Thank you.
Hi, hello. Thank you for having us.
Wonderful to be in studio with you and wonderful to be discussing this very, very important topic. It's something that many of us are wanting to know how to go about finding money for affordable housing. Now, in our ongoing series, we've been exploring the abundant, vacant and underutilized land available for potential housing solutions. Recent data shared by Ndifuna Ukwazi through the People's Land Map has unveiled a staggering 2,787 parcels of such land across all levels of government. Now, last week in our previous episode, we delved into the innovative idea of constructing housing using sandbags. However, a crucial question remains at the forefront of this housing challenge. How can we secure the necessary funding to make affordable housing a reality? Well, today we'll delve deep into this financial puzzle. Let's start off by giving a brief overview of Bitprop. Perhaps we can ask, would you like to go, Mr. Halls? Okay, let's go for it, Dylan. So you can just give us a brief overview of Bitprop. I must admit, it is the first time I've heard of them as well.
Oh, it's great to be here and tell you about us. We work in a very specific part of the affordable housing spectrum in the township context. What we do is we partner with property owners. They have a property already and a house on the property. It's generally an RDP house or something of that sort, and they want to develop further on their property. So we partner with them and provide funding and construction expertise, and we build rental flats on their property. So it'll be 4 or 6 bachelor apartments, and we walk hand in hand with the homeowner for a period of 10 years, during which time we share the rental income, and that's how we cover our costs, cover maintenance and insurance. The homeowner gets a new income stream, and they learn how to be a landlord. So we take them from, they're nearly always first-time landlords, so they go from sort of very green in the space with us. Over the 10 years, we do the whole process of finding tenants and doing lease agreements and deposits and maintenance and everything that comes with being a landlord.
Okay.
At the end of 10 years, we step away. We never take any ownership of the property. We're just there to share in the rental income and transform them into a micro property entrepreneur.
Wow, that's very interesting. It's something, how long has this been in existence for you to be doing this kind of work? Because I find it very fascinating.
So we started in 2019.
Okay.
And it was very small scale at the time. We were kind of testing it out. The concept of backyard rental flats is not new, as I'm sure you know. They're all over the country. For us, it was a way of how can we bring formal capital into the space in a sustainable way that attracts capital without the need for donations or government funding to develop housing, and for the impact on the homeowner it turns their property into a business, accommodation for the tenants in the area, and we partner with local contractor companies from the area. So there's a nice empowerment angle there as well. So we started in 2019. We obviously struggled through COVID, came out the other side, grew our team, and we're now at almost 500 rental units, we hope, towards the end of the year.
Fantastic. That is amazing. You know what I love about it is the fact that you are giving someone else an opportunity of not just being a homeowner, but also receiving income should they rent it out, instead of them building onto their flat and getting other people to stay there and getting a rental income, because that's what basically happens these days for people that have got their first, that get their home from the RDP developing. Then they just decided to put up a shack at the back and to get a rental income. So you're making it, instead of them having to do that, you're making it more attractive so that there would be more equity in their property. Correct.
Yeah, and for many of them, they were doing that beforehand. They had shacks on the property, or maybe a spaza shop or something like that.
Yes.
Or they've even tried to build flats. So they've collected money, or they've borrowed from friends and family, sometimes loan sharks. And they've tried to build, they've run out of capital, and they have these half-built, maybe the ground floor.
Yeah.
But it's not built to code. It's not, it's not really inhabitable. And so...
And they haven't got the NHBRC certificates behind it. So, I mean, it's not something generally not. Gosh, this is quite interesting. So how does Bidprop materialize all of this? I mean, you did mention that you don't get any government funding. So this is like all on your own. I mean, this is not something that's cheap.
It's not cheap. Construction's not cheap. It's a long-term investment.
Exactly. So how do you actually materialize all of this? I mean, can I come to you and say, look, I need a house. What do I have to do? What happens?
In principle, yes. So you would come to us if you have a property. We would assess the property. That's actually what Annika does.
Okay.
Is it big enough? Does it fall within the right zoning? That sort of thing. And then we do a check on the person. Assess a few things, just, sometimes it's back and forth on questions, go through our partnership agreement, and then if they're happy, we start pretty quickly.
Oh, fantastic. Obviously, I mean, there's a lot more to do than what you are saying, because, I mean, you first got to ascertain if the property is registered in the owner's name. You've got to check whether that property is able to have or open up water lines, as well as, be able to sustain electricity. You've got to make sure about the fact that it has stable grounding, opposed to, if anything should happen, the building might collapse or whatever the case might be. So obviously there's a lot of things, Annika, that you've got to look into as well.
Yeah. I think it's important to note that Bidprop is really trying to formalize this market that's happening. So we make sure that we have the right professionals working in that space. So we have our engineers checking all the roof structures, the foundations. We have our architects like myself. We have our construction manager who's always making sure that we have our quality build. So there is a lot that goes into it, and it's very difficult for people to do this by themselves. There's not many people are educated in this space, and therefore it's nice that we can come in and provide this turnkey product where everything is taken care of, and you have tenants and a property, or flats that are appreciating in value.
In value, exactly. Because once you've built this, it not only does it increase the value of that particular property, but also the properties around you, isn't it? Obviously, depending in what area you are in. Okay, so when you go about doing all of this, or when you are going to be constructing these properties, these houses or flats, etc., community participation, you do go into the communities, explain to them what's going on, why you are doing what you are doing, and who it's available to? Yeah,
so it's actually really, this is actually the beautiful part of what we're doing. And so once we have a homeowner, we're kind of empowering one person.
Yeah.
But after a while, what happens is they gain the capacity to start empowering people around them, their neighbor, telling them what Bidprop does. And so what we're starting to see is that once we've started building one or two properties in the same street, we're actually creating little micro communities on each property. And we've started to see how they're starting to connect into the bigger, healthy BitProp and homeowner-supported rental space. So that's how we're kind of slowly creating a really safe environment for neighborhoods.
For the community itself.
Yeah.
Because it's very important that. So let me just go one step back very quickly. So the owner of the property. Normally when you get tenants in, there's obviously a ritual you've got to go through. You've got to get 3 months banking statement, do a ITC check. You've got to ensure that that they are good pupils to actually take, or rather rent the place from. Does the same thing apply here? I mean, do you do the ITC checks? Do you find out whether the tenant that will be staying there has a steady income that you ask for, the 3 months banking statement, etc.?
We actually don't. So the approach we took when we started was there's a vibrant rental market in the backyard rental market that we were going into. We don't really know the dynamics very much. Let's not try and change everything.
Yeah.
And so for us, the focus was 100% on the relationship with the homeowner.
Okay.
And they are empowered to do that if they would like to. We source tenants. We drive tenants towards them.
Yeah.
It's up to the homeowner whether they do further checks or the likes of that. Some of them have asked for that now. As we've grown, we get homeowners of different with different understandings of being a landlord, and some of them would like that now. It's grown very organically up until now.
It must be difficult though, because I mean, some people that are wanting to rent have an income, but they can't actually prove that they have that income set for every month, but they would have enough to cover the rental. I mean, how do you then, how do you evaluate?
Exactly. We don't want to restrict too much based on that.
Yeah.
Look, there's a lot of trust. We do have tenants moving in and they might not be there for too long, but the model works.
I think that's the core thing. The model works.
And the homeowners on the property, so they have a relationship with the tenant. A lot of them, we're doing interviews at the moment, and a lot of them say they treat their tenants like their children. And because they're living in this shared space, it's not easy. You get these flats, but you now have 10, 15 people living on your property, but they become very close.
Like family.
And I think we think that plays a strong role in, in absence of credit checks and that sort of thing with tenants. The social bond is quite strong, and that alleviates some of the problems you might otherwise have.
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. It's nice to know and hear that home landlords have that relationship with their tenants, because it makes things easier. It really does.
It's critical.
It is extremely critical, because you feel like you are responsible for them, but they're also responsible enough to pay their way in order for them to stay there. So you become like these adopted parents to the tenants, and they take you on as adopted parents, and they treat you that way. And I think that's also where the humanitarian part of it comes in, because you've actually created humanity. You've created that space, So I think it's absolutely fantastic. Perhaps we can just delve into the financial model of BitProp and just tell us more about that, because it's all very exciting. But for many of us that don't really know how property market works, or how it is to be a landlord and wanting to be a landlord that has tenants, a homeowner rather, and being a landlord at the same time. Dylan?
Sure. Let me maybe take a step back. The origins of BitProp, one of our founders was working with an NGO called Kayalam, which means My Home, and what they were doing was donating time and money to basically to conveyances and the likes of that, to help people in townships and informal settlements get title to their property. The theory being, if you own your land, that's how you unlock the value. You can borrow against it, you can sell it, you can pass it on to your children, you can rent it out, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But people were getting their title, and then what? They don't have capital to develop it. They don't have the education, and so it's, it wasn't sort of a nice thought, but wasn't providing the returns of that the theory says it should. And so BitProp was conceptualized out of that as can you create a sustainable model that helps people use the land they're already in possession of, which is for most people the biggest asset they will ever have. How do you help people who haven't been able to use that to improve their income, their wealth, their assets to hand on to their children, without relying on government sponsorship, NGO funding, that sort of thing, because it's not really sustainable. So we said, how can we show that private investment can go into the township, into something like property, have massive impact, and it's sustainable. You can sustain the capital, which can be rolled into more development. So we get investment from private investors who have mostly been European up until this point. They invest, and we use the capital to build our properties. Of the rent that's collected, some goes to the homeowner, some is kept for maintenance and insurance. The rest goes back into sort of like a fund, and that provides the return on the investment to the investor. So you're able to incentivize, impact funds, income funds, make it attractive to put capital in to something that's really having a positive impact, and which has been a big trend over the last 5 to 10 years in the financial markets, not just investing for capital return, but to do it in a way that does conserve your capital, but is also having a greater impact at the end. Did I explain the model?
No, you definitely did. What I like about that is the fact that you are giving people who want to be landlords that opportunity of being a landlord, and at the same time educating them of the impact of being a landlord, because most of the people think you're being a landlord, you're only getting that income. But being a landlord also means a lot of things. You've got to maintain the property that they are living in. If there's anything wrong, you've got to ensure that it gets fixed. So that money that you literally get as your rental income, you've got to learn to put a portion aside for if anything comes up, because then you've got that funds. And I think that's the most important thing that landlords need to understand, that the income that you're deriving is for whatever you need, but remember to put a portion aside for that oopsie moment when, perhaps a light burst or one of the floorboards came up, and especially with our weather the way it is nowadays. What about, that was going to be my next one, what about insurance on these properties? Because if we look at our climate change, and if we look at how our weather patterns has been, do these landlords have insurance on their properties?
Let me say first, it's really hard to get insurance on township properties. Our landlords would all have some form of funeral cover. Some of them would have life insurance, maybe personal possession insurance, not so much insurance on property. Okay. And we struggled a lot in the beginning to get any institution to insure our properties, the part that we're building, because they don't really understand the township market. We've worked with 2 different ones, and it's been fine. It's important, especially with climate change and crime and
exactly. Things like this happen all the time. Does BitProp only do financing for townships, or can anyone approach you and say, look, this is where I stay, this is my house, I've got ample space on my property. Is there any way that you'll be able to assist us with, having another separate entrance so that we can become landlords, or do you mainly focus on townships only?
And we were talking about that earlier. Conceptually, it would work.
Definitely.
It's not like a South African problem. A shortage of housing or wanting to develop one's property to earn extra income. It could definitely work around the world. I think what's important though is the purpose was the impact side of it. So we focus a lot on, does the person we're working with, like, is this an impactful investment? Is it really, is it really, and for a lot of our homeowners, it's not extra money that they're putting aside. The money they earn from now while they're in partnership with us is going to groceries or to school fees. So it's like really helping out. It's not, and that was a big part of the vision. In the future, I think there are probably other iterations that, impact in different ways and different type in suburbs and inner city and that sort of thing. We could talk a lot about that.
Oh, no, definitely. And I just think, it's just a fantastic way of giving homeowners that opportunity of becoming landlords. I mean, yes, I know we look at the part of where Bitprop gets a share of it and they use the other share, which I hear what you say, that they use it for food, etc. But they've also got to put away for a rainy day. So even if they just take 100 Rand from that rental income and they put it to one side, at least it will be there for them when they need it. Now, the questions are coming through, so I'm going to ask them as well. One of the listeners wants to know your details and names. Can we give them your names and details of how they can contact you?
Sure.
Okay, we'll do that towards the end of the program. Assalamu alaikum, Sitara. As long as tenants pay, then the relationship is okay, happy chappy, which I guess is also true. I mean, the minute they skip a month, there would be a problem.
No, and we'd actually have very little problems with that.
Okay.
I think partly because there's so much demand in all the areas we're in. And because they have such a close relationship with the landlord, who is supported by we have a couple of agents who do amazing jobs with that. So, less than 1%
Okay.
don't pay.
Wow, that is amazing.
Which is the opposite of what we expected when we started.
Yeah, because you would think that, sometimes there would be that occasions where they would not be able to pay that particular month. So
and it happens occasionally. And, you can always have a conversation case by case. People often have valid reasons. Sometimes not. Sometimes, you have to assess it.
Yeah.
But that setup where the landlord is on the property living with them goes a long way to alleviate a lot of those problems.
Oh, fantastic. Do they deal with pensioners who own the property?
We have a lot of pensioners, yeah.
Okay. So I hope that answers your questions. How many dwellings can I have on one property? I'm assuming that it depends on the size of the property?
Yeah, so when we're initially inspecting the property, there's specific dimensions and sizes that we need. We're also needing to adhere to all the council regulations as well. So a lot of the time when these things happen in township areas or underdeveloped areas, the council regulations aren't followed. So it's easy to overpopulate. So what Bitprop does at the moment is we're trying to fit at least 4 flats or 6 flats maximum.
Okay.
It doesn't also, there's a long story to it. It's also not just depending on the size of the property, but also we found that it's easier for homeowners to manage up to 6 flats. If we're starting to get 8 or 12, I mean, you can go all the way up. It's difficult to maintain that relationship with your tenants.
Okay.
And the load on electricity and water also becomes...
Yeah, of course, because they don't have separate meters to purchase water or electricity. Maybe with electricity they can, but with water it tends to get a bit difficult, isn't it? To have separate meters in each unit?
Yeah, so our units actually do have that. So each unit has its own prepaid meter, and it's also prepaid water meter, but it's connected to the main house.
Okay.
So there is a system in place where it gets paid back to the homeowner, but that is a clever way of solving that, making sure that the tenants don't kind of, inverted commas, leech off of what the homeowner already has.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Sure, I've learned something this evening. Assalamu alaikum. How much interest does the guest charge on the loan?
So it's not actually a loan. It's a partnership agreement. So it's 10 years that we're in partnership.
Yeah.
That's fixed. If we recover our capital over the 10 years, great. If we don't, the risk is on us.
Yeah.
We're not a financial provider in that sense. but the return on the investment is
Mm.
comes to around 15%.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's important to note that the homeowner, when partnering with us, doesn't actually put any capital down. So R0 goes
Zero,
from their
yeah.
pockets. Everything comes from BitProp. And then we recover those costs according to the rental income that we get.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the other advantage of that is, in a sense, your credit score doesn't matter because we're not issuing a loan against you, and there's no,
Yeah.
if we can't collect the money, there's no recourse for us through the NCR or anything like that.
Okay.
It's just a partnership agreement, so we can be more lenient. We'll still check payment behavior so that we know the right questions to ask, but we don't have to say, oh, we can't build for this person because they have a Telkom account and a Sportsman's Warehouse account outstanding.
And for tenants that skip out on their payments, I mean, after you've spoken to them, etc., normally financial institutions or companies would put them down as a default payer that they don't regularly pay. Is that something that BitProp does as well? Do they get recorded down or not at all?
No.
Wow.
We're not hooked into that kind of system. Some people, would like that.
Yeah.
It also works to the tenant's benefit because if they are regular payers, it's
increases.
a good,
It increases the credit score.
Yeah, so it goes both ways.
Yeah.
But yeah, we don't do that.
Okay. Are these flats built double volume, and what would be the square meter requirements?
Yeah, so definitely we do double story. It's 2 stories, and we don't go higher than that, mostly because it's then out of proportion of what's existing in the urban landscape already. And in terms of the square meterage, each flat varies, so it depends on the size and how much we can fit in, but so the bachelor flat space is about 16 to 21 square meters each.
Okay.
16 obviously being the smallest amount we can humanely put someone in, and then 21 square meters just depending on the space available.
I guess if it's a bachelor flat and it's one person occupying it, you really don't need a big space. So between 16 and 21 square meters should be fairly big enough for one person, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. And we make sure that, these units all come with a fully kitted kitchen that has a kitchenette, the sink. It has a built-in cupboard. It has a counter the way young working professionals can work from home.
Yeah.
Each comes with an ensuite bathroom, so your own bathroom with a toilet, a shower and a basin, and then a living space that can, specifically for a double bed that may or may not, just depending on the variant of the design, can have a couch in or not. But generally, that's usually big enough for one person to work with. Yeah.
Oh, definitely. I have a bonded property. Can you assist in getting my bond paid up quicker? I don't think that's what BitProp is all about.
No. So
perhaps they're looking at from an aspect of, will you assist by perhaps building onto our property so that we can get rental income?
Yes. So we will build on a property that has a bond. Obviously, we'll collect that document so we can see how much is outstanding and that sort of thing, just so we're aware of it. But ideally, it's a good way to contribute towards paying off your bond.
Oh, definitely.
Now the rent that person would then receive then goes
into the bond repayment. Can one, if you're a homeowner, you have your property, you've already got a granny flat on the property, but the property is big enough to accommodate a second granny flat. Will you be able to assist someone that wants to do that?
Yeah, that gets a bit tricky. It all depends on the zoning of the property itself and how what we're allowed to put on there. So usually if there is a granny flat that exists already, it's something that we would demolish and then build our flats onto it, just because of just really council regulations at this point. So usually no, we would have to demolish it.
We'll have to demolish it. Okay.
And it's important because as much as we might want to build, if we can't get council approval, you can't necessarily realize the value of the property if you want to sell or borrow against the property because you don't have approval for those
Yeah.
plans. So
Do you build on properties that has a specific set market value? Just for example, the value of your property must be R1 million. Then we will consider building onto it, or not at all. Okay, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum. Densification by means of bachelor. What is densification by means of bachelor flats in a low-income area will encourage migrant labor and apartheid construct. Family units instead will alleviate the housing crisis. Shireen Govender.
Yeah, I mean, because we're such a young company, we're kind of testing out the model at the moment in terms of what the product is, and at the moment, bachelor flats is what's really working.
Yeah.
We do have in the pipeline where we are trying to put in 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom family units. But there's a fine line between what we're able to produce and how it fits in with the financial model and how we're able to repay that. So it all depends on the area and the rent that we're able to get to recoup those costs. Yeah.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum, Sitara. It is not always the tenants pay, sometimes the default, and I lost out on 2 months rental. Jazakallah khairan. Today they out. So tenants did not pay and she lost out on 2 months rental. So that's I think the question there is, if Bitprop was involved there and the tenants didn't pay, I'm even going to stretch it longer and say for 3 or 4 months, is there an eviction that takes place, and then you find other tenants, or how does it work?
yeah, so we will follow the process that's required. I think it's a notice, and then you have 7 days to rectify, and it rarely gets to that. We're not directly involved, so we'll step in and provide the documents and assistance for that when the homeowner requests.
Okay.
Sometimes, I think in a lot of the areas we work in, it's more fluid than that. There's more social pressure.
Yeah.
I think because you're living on the property. Because it is a problem, if a tenant is there, it's quite hard to get them out if you do have to go through
Yeah. And
lots of steps.
And especially if you don't have a lease agreement in place. I mean, when you are renting, I'm sure that there are lease agreements in place.
Yeah.
Is it a year-by-year lease agreement? Is it a 3-year lease agreement? And obviously in the lease agreement, you will have a clause that stipulates should you evacuate the property prior to the lease term coming to an end, you are still liable to pay that money.
We do. The lease is technically a 12-month lease.
Okay.
But you can't actually enforce that beyond a 30-day. If someone gives 30-day notice, it's
Yeah, no, that's different. That's different.
so but you have to have a lease.
Yeah.
That's critical.
Okay. The next question says, are you only building bachelor flats or multi-room flats?
Yeah, so at the moment only bachelor flats, but as I mentioned earlier, we are looking into trying to incorporate different types, like multi-room flats. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay. Assalamu alaikum. What is the payment plan, interest rate, period of payments? I think Dylan did say that at the start of the program. Perhaps you could just repeat it to our listeners again.
Sure. So it's not a loan, so there's no interest rate. We're in partnership for 10 years. During that time, rent is paid. It gets paid into a central system. So we have an app type of system to allocate everything. And the homeowner gets paid out 15%. Money is kept for maintenance and everything, and so it just works like that. So we're not waiting for payments from the homeowners. So it's not a payment plan like that.
Yeah.
But it's 10 years of that arrangement.
I actually think this whole thing is such a beautiful idea because, firstly, building is very expensive. We know the cost of building materials. They increase on a daily basis. When you start off planning all of this, and especially if you are building onto a property that is in existence, the landlord stays there, but obviously let me just use a hypothetical area. Let's just say Rylands. So you've got a property, you are the landlord, you live on the property, but you also have a lot of space in the back part of your property that can be utilized to perhaps get 2 granny flats on there, or perhaps 1 big granny flat on there. Do you have to then get permission from the neighbors, or let them know that, you know, this is what you're going to be doing? There'll be a lot of delivery trucks coming onto the road. There'll be strange men that you will find around. I mean, we've got to look as far as security goes for our elderly people, for example, that live in the area. Is that something that you deal with, where you actually, you know, go with the landlord to the neighbors and say, you know, this is something that we are doing and this is what's happening and this is the process, just so that you are aware of it?
Yeah, we definitely do that. So part of council requirements, in certain areas, it is required to have neighbors' signatures, everyone that borders onto your property. But what we've started doing now as like a courtesy call type of thing, where we have a specific form that we give to our homeowners, and then they will go and explain to the neighbors what will be happening. So some of the properties legally require that signature and others don't, but we've started implementing it as a standard thing, because it is important to know what is happening around and the people coming into your area. So it's part of creating that
I suppose it's good
community.
neighborly.
Yes.
You know, it's a good neighborly way of saying, hey guys, you know, I'm building, but, you know, here we go, this is what I'm doing. And who knows, perhaps that could even generate new contracts with you guys as well, which means
It often does, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
it happens all the time. Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. So how does a homeowner or investor get involved? Can you invest with BidProp and become a part of the BidProp family? And as a homeowner, how would I approach you, or what is it that I need to do in order for me to get going with this project?
Sure. So as an investor, you can invest into the fund. You would have to invest a minimum 100,000, because above that you're a professional investor. Different regulations apply.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's it
and
on the investment side. For a landlord, they apply with us. We have a couple of people in our team who assist with that, and it's generally a conversation first, and they find out, is the property in the right area, is it ideal, and that sort of thing. Then they fill out a form on our website, the documents we need to collect, and so our team is working quite closely with them to collect that. It's normally a couple of weeks that takes.
Okay.
And then on our side, Annika's looking at the property.
Okay.
We're looking at the rest of the details, and then if all is good and the homeowner is happy with the contract, you know, we can almost start immediately, and construction's quick.
Oh, fantastic. I've seen that.
3 months or so.
I sometimes get so amazed when I drive past the construction the one week, and the second week it's like, oh gosh, there goes the second part of the building up. I just want to know, for our listeners, if they want to reach out to you, do they call or do they reach out to Ndifuna Ukwazi Housing Clinic, or you personally? How do they get hold of you?
To BidProp. So our website is www.bidprop.com. It's BITPROP. They can email info@bidprop.com.
Okay.
And then there are a couple of WhatsApp numbers there as well that they'll see on the website.
Okay, awesome. So there we go. So if you want to get hold of them, go to www.bidprop.com, and if you want to email them, it's info@bidprop.com. So that is absolutely, it was fantastic listening to you guys and also finding out more about BidProp. I know I've learned quite a bit this evening. I thought I knew everything there is to know about property, but clearly I don't. So I've learned something new, and thank you so much for joining us this evening. We do wish you all of the best. Have a wonderful remainder of the week ahead, and I'll leave you both in the protection of God Almighty.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. Well, refer those listening to for you to find out more information or get some more information, you can also go to Ndifuna Ukwazi social media pages and or www.nu.org.za. And for landlord and tenant issues, you can also reach them on WhatsApp 062 352 92372, or you can email the Ndufani Ukwazi Housing Clinic on NULAWCENTRE at nu.org.za, or Ntombi NTOMBI at nu.org.za. Well, that concludes On the Couch for this beautiful Thursday evening. Until I chat to you again Sunday morning, enjoy the evening and Juma Mubarak to one and all.